I will remind you, I know it probably sounds weird to hear me talking this much about things the president tweeted, but I'll remind you, this is the last day we ever have to struggle with the responsibility of how best to ignore his tweets. After today, it's over. But I do actually think, in part because it's the last day, but specifically because of the way it ended, I think it's important, actually. I think it's definitely interesting, potentially important to look at the last thing that happened before this all came to an end. These are the last two posts that he made on Twitter before that company decided to take down his whole account, get rid of all of his tweets, and ban him from the platform entirely, permanently. So these are the last two. First one said this. It said, quote, "The 75 million great American patriots who voted for me, America first and make America great again, will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form." He tweeted that. And then right after that, he tweeted this. "To all of those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. Now, I think this is interesting. Look at how the company, Twitter, explains tonight why those two last tweets were enough to finally trigger a lifetime ban on this platform for President Trump. This is actually fascinating to me. Here's what they say. "After close review of recent tweets from the @RealDonaldTrump account and the context around them, specifically how they're being received and interpreted on and off Twitter, we have permanently suspended the account due to the risk of further incitement of violence. These two tweets must be read in the context of broader events in the country and the ways in which the president's statements can be mobilized by different audiences, including to incite violence, as well as in the context of the pattern of behavior from this account in recent weeks. We assess these two tweets under our glorification of violence policy, which aims to prevent the glorification of violence that could inspire others to replicate violent acts. And we determined that these tweets were highly likely to encourage and inspire people to replicate the criminal acts that took place at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. This determination is based on a number of factors, including President Trump's statement that he will not be attending the inauguration. That is being received by a number of his supporters as further confirmation that the election was not legitimate and is seen as him disavowing his previous claim that there would be an orderly transition on January 20th. The president's second tweet may also serve as encouragement to those potentially considering violent acts that the inauguration would be a safe target, as he will not be attending. Now, on that point, I have to say I had not been thinking about it in those terms at all. Maybe I'm not wired that way. But it's true, right? There's the president simultaneously stoking more of the grievance, potentially more of the violence from the same army of supporters who just attacked the Capitol. And then in a linked message, he reassures them that he's not going to be at the inauguration, just in case they want to, make themselves known there. So a little bit more here. Look, again, this is Twitter explaining why the president is permanently banned from that platform forever now, spelling out why his final two tweets were determined by the company to violate their glorification of violence policy. They say, quote, "The use of the words American patriots to describe some of his supporters is also being interpreted as support for those committing violent acts at the U.S. Capitol. The mention of his supporters having a giant voice long into the future and that they will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form is being interpreted as further indication that President Trump does not plan to facilitate an orderly transition and instead that he plans to continue to support, empower, and shield those who believe he won the election. Plans for future armed protests have already begun proliferating on and off Twitter, including a proposed secondary attack on the U.S. Capitol and state Capitol buildings on January 17th, 2021. As such, our determination is that the two tweets above are likely to inspire others to replicate the violent acts that took place on January 6th, and that there are multiple indicators that they are being received and understood as encouragement to do so. And thus, Twitter has permanently banned Donald Trump from that platform.